to The Knowledge on Cinema. I'm Victor Omoayo, and today we're going to be talking about two of Darren Aronofsky's films, and they are The Wrestler and Black Swan. Darren Aronofsky considers his last two films, The Wrestler and Black Swan, to be companion pieces, and after watching both movies, the comparisons are rather clear in both expected and unexpected ways. The Wrestler stars Mickey Rourke in what is, in my view, the best performance of his career as Randy the Ram Robinson, a professional wrestler who reigned supreme in the 1980s, but is today a washed-up has-been, still clinging on to past glories while leading a mediocre existence. Black Swan stars Natalie Portman as Nina Sayers, a young ballerina who excels at her craft, and is cast in the lead role in her dance company's revival of the classic ballet Swan Lake. Nina's wonderful talent as a dancer is unfortunately matched by the weight of her emotional and mental troubles, and the pressures of performing begin to erode her already shaky grasp on reality. Both films revolve around two different artists in their own respective rights who commit themselves to their vocations, body, mind, and soul, and we see how far they will reach for that proverbial brass ring. Once again, there will be some spoilers throughout this video, so if you haven't seen either one of these films yet, I recommend catching them first before coming back. Otherwise, stick around and take a trip with me to the shiny, happy, and puppies and kittens-filled world of Darren Aronofsky. In The Wrestler and Black Swan, the characters of Randy the Ram Robinson and Nina Sayers eat, sleep, and breathe their respective worlds of professional wrestling and ballet, and we see how these worlds, in turn, devour their very lives. The heyday of Randy's wrestling career is displayed in the opening credits of The Wrestler. Marquees, posters, and various photographs of a younger Ram headlining numerous events depict him as a popular star in the 1980s, seemingly on par with legends such as Hulk Hogan and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Unfortunately, regardless of all the adulation and success, the present-day reality of Randy the Ram 20 years later is a far cry from those halcyon days of yore. Now in his 50s with nothing but a broken down body to show for it, Randy spends his weekends wrestling independent shows in school gymnasiums, and works the rest of the week part-time at a local supermarket, barely making ends meet. Having been long estranged from his only daughter Stephanie, Randy ekes out a lonely, barren existence. His only solace, such as it is the wrestling ring and the roar of the small but enthusiastic crowds that chant his name. One day, a chance to potentially recapture the spotlight appears when one of Randy's promoters books him in an upcoming rematch with his old in-ring nemesis, the Ayatollah. In Randy's mind, this is his long-awaited shot at greatness. For Nina Sayers, ballet isn't just her career or even her passion, it is life itself. It's evident that she has been dancing since the time she could walk, and she is perhaps the best dancer in her New York ballet company. Her chance for greatness comes when director Tomas Leroy prepares to open the new season with his reimagined version of Swan Lake, in which one ballerina will portray both the pure and innocent white swan Odette, as well as her dark, seductive twin, the black swan Odile. Nina's dancing abilities are deemed impeccable and technically sound by Tomas's standards, and the director notes that her inherent qualities of quiet shyness perfectly fits those of the white swan role. However, he criticizes Nina for being unable to portray the required attributes of the Black Swan, and in his own lecherous, sexually harassing manner, implores the skittish girl to eliminate her inhibitions and discover her dark and dangerous side. Although Randy's present-day life is a meager one gets the impression that he at least got the chance to experience life in all its mirth and messiness. Nina, despite being in her 20s, is extremely sheltered, as she lives with her coddling mother Erica, played by Barbara Hershey. Living under her mother, a former dancer turned painter, Nina's existence is kept in a perpetual state of arrested development. Her bedroom is fashioned with pink, frilly wallpaper and is populated with stuffed animals. It looks like a room fit for a little princess and not for a young woman. Erica also gives her daughter a music box with a tiny ballerina inside, a representation of the cage that she has kept Nina in forever, as well as Nina's own single-minded drive for ultimate perfection in her art form.
Another notable way both films convey the bubble that both Nina and Randy place themselves in is the behind-the-head perspective that the camera periodically shows when they are walking around. For both characters, to varying degrees, they are unable, or rather unwilling, to think of a life beyond the stage and the squared circle. In a way, their backs, which are turned towards the viewer, says that everything else that is not part of their worlds doesn't need to be acknowledged. Both films also spotlight older supporting characters who deal with ageism in some form or another. In The Wrestler, Randy regularly frequents a strip club where he pays to see Cassidy, real name Pam, played by Marissa Tomei. Cassidy is a stripper in her 40s who, like Randy, has to face the reality that she is past her prime in her profession. There are 2 scenes in the film in which this reality hits her. When we first see Cassidy, she faces a torrent of insults by a group of younger men while trying to stay in character, even attempting to turn their jibes to her benefit. In another scene midway in the film, she cases the club and asks various patrons for a private dance, but they all turn her down. One would expect these incidents to chip away at her confidence, but what enables Cassidy to tolerate it all is that, unlike Randy, she establishes clear boundaries between her working world and her private life. She has one central rule of never getting involved romantically with customers, and again, unlike Randy, she holds tightly to a more realistic perspective beyond her job. As a single mom to a 9-year-old son, she wants to eventually quit stripping to move to a better neighborhood with a better school for her boy. In Black Swan, Nina's mom, Erica, remains heavily involved in her daughter's life and career to a smothering point. Erica mentions that she once had a promising career until she had Nina at the age of 28, and it's obvious that she is pinning all of her unrealized ambitions onto her daughter. Interestingly, Erica holds a contradictory attitude towards Nina. She's very supportive of her daughter's career progress, yet at the same time is resentful of said progress, like a jealous sister. Also, Erica's affectionate referring of Nina as her sweet girl is used to subtly diminish Nina's maturity. Winona Ryder's character, Beth McIntyre, also feels the sting of ageism when she is unceremoniously forced into retirement by Tomas and is replaced by the younger Nina in the role of the Swan Queen. Earlier in the film, the other dancers crack on Beth's age behind her back, even going so far as to call her a grandmother. As the longtime prima ballerina of the company, Beth doesn't take the news of getting replaced well at all, and her temperamental, self-destructive streak lands her in the hospital after she, very likely, intentionally attempts to kill herself. While Nina's development as an adult is constantly stifled, Randy's growth as a person is also stunted, primarily because of his own doing. His real name is not Randy Robinson, but it is actually Robin Ramzinski, much to his own embarrassment. The reason why Randy is so uncomfortable with his real name is because it symbolizes all of his real-life failures outside of the wrestling business. Robin has a daughter whom he hasn't spoken to since she was just a child. Robin has a crappy low-wage job and works for a weaselly, condescending douchebag of a boss. Robin has an injury-riddled body and a heart that's about to fail him. Robin lives in a trailer park and can't even make the rent on time, and sometimes has to sleep in his van if the landlord locks him out of his home. Randy the Ram, on the other hand, is a living wrestling legend. Promoters, fans, and other younger wrestlers look up to him, and they don't see a man who's marked with failure from head to toe. In fact, they don't even see the real Robin at all. They only see the persona. The Ram is a hero, a champion, the man. Randy tries to accentuate his Ram persona when he prepares to transition from working the back rooms of the supermarket to the deli counter. After trying in vain to get his boss to change his name tag from Robin to Randy, he makes his way to the deli section as the camera follows him from behind, documentary style. As he stops short in the doorway leading to the deli, the cheers of the crowd grow louder and louder in his mind, and this time Randy/Robin psychs himself up to face a new audience. As soon as he emerges from the curtains, the roar of the crowd immediately stops. Reality quickly settles in. Much to his credit, Randy makes the most of his new position by letting some of his showmanship shine through. Randy's stunted progress is also evidenced by his stubbornness to remain fixed in the past, specifically the 1980s. For him, the 90s effing sucked. At one point, his lonesome life leads him to seek company in any form. He invites one of the neighborhood kids to play an old NES wrestling game based on himself. The boy gets into a discussion of current video games by mentioning Call of Duty 4, which is totally lost on Randy's old school sensibilities. Randy's insistence on living in the past comes back to bite him in a haunting, sobering form when he is invited to an autograph and picture signing at a local community center with other retired wrestlers from decades past. He takes a look at the bodily toll his former peers have taken. One is wheelchair bound, and another frail faded star wears a catheter. In this scene, Randy sees pieces of his present and hints of his possible future should he continue to beat himself up. As for Nina, at one point, Thomas compares Nina to Lily, the new dancer who is her antithesis in every conceivable way. Lily is outspoken, brash, down to earth, kinda crass, and contrary to Nina and the rest of the other dancers for that matter, perceives and enjoys a life outside of the insular world of ballet. When Tomas talks to Nina about what makes Beth so thrilling to watch, mainly her dark impulse and aura of danger, he also refers to Lily and indirectly tells Nina to embrace those characteristics. The director's pointed critiques of Nina's frigidness, along with Lily's presence, fuels the flames of Nina's madness, and she begins to see hallucinations of herself in several instances, such as the woman in the subway tunnel, when she is taking a bath, and the sex scene between Thomas and Lily in the studio. To further illustrate the polarity between the two dancers, Lily always wears black in every scene she's in. What is definitely the most unforgettable of Nina's hallucinations is her passionate scene with Lily, in which, after they return to Nina's apartment from a night of wild partying, retreat to her bedroom. Even though it's revealed in the next scene that Nina imagined this encounter, it represents her own personal liberation from her sexual repression. In order to fully and convincingly portray both sides of the Swan Queen, Nina's fantasized moments with Lily is also a fulfillment of her deeply buried desire and need to rebel against her emotional and psychological imprisonment enforced by her mother, who later asks with sadness, "What happened to my sweet girl?" To which Nina replies with contempt, fury, and a twinge of pride, "She's gone." For the first time in her life, Nina gets to grow up. Going back to Randy, we also see him pursue his own chance of true growth as a person when he attempts to reconcile his long broken relationship with his daughter Stephanie, played by Evan Rachel Wood. We do not get to know Stephanie very well, which is appropriate considering Randy himself knows so little about her. The time they spend together is the happiest and brightest period in The Wrestler, and Randy's choice of location is an inspired one, an abandoned seaside park. They come across a derelict and disheveled hall where they playfully ballroom dance. Like the rustic building, Randy and Stephanie's relationship is in ruins, but here they have an opportunity to renovate their broken bond. Sadly, this period of brightness does not last, and it flickers out as quickly as it started. The finales of both The Wrestler and Black Swan echo each other rather eerily. In the former, Randy prepares himself for his highly anticipated rematch with his old opponent, the Ayatollah, played by former wrestler Ernest the Cat Miller. Before the match, Randy tearfully says a silent prayer to himself in the locker room before making his way behind the curtain. Just before he emerges, Pam meets him and begs him to reconsider. Pam's pleas sadly come too little, too late, and even her affirmations to Randy that she wants to truly be by his side and that he is not just another customer no longer reach him. Although for a split second it seems like Randy is beginning to seriously consider her words until his theme music of Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses bursts from the loudspeakers. Having stumbled at everything else in his life, from his family, to his livelihood, to having his pride spit on, Randy's leap into perceived greatness is his final, defiant middle finger to his own failures, and it is also a leap into the pantheon of all the late wrestlers that came before him. Even the ring announcer calls Randy a true wrestling immortal just before he walks to the ring. For Nina in Black Swan, her rousing performance in Swan Lake is nothing short of mesmerizing, and she completely throws herself into the Black Swan role. She dazzles the rest of the dancers in the company, and even impresses the mercurial Tomas. As the show unfolds, Nina confronts Lily in her dressing room, who taunts her for falling down on stage and mockingly offers to take over her role midway. Angered at the thought, Nina attacks Lily and accidentally stabs her to death. However, this is yet another one of Nina's hallucinations, and in the final act of the ballet, as the Swan Queen, she leaps off the platform to her character's tragic death, to the thunderous applause of the crowd and the amazement of her fellow dancers. When Tomas and the others notice her bloody wound, Nina marvels at the perfection of her performance before the screen fades to white. As with Randy's last leap, Nina's bound into her perceived greatness comes at the ultimate price, her own life. No longer is she a signet to her mother Swan, Erica, nor is she the timid little woman child she was from the start of the film. This is Nina's awakening, albeit one that presumably comes far too late. However, her fate, like Randy's, is left uncertain. As morbid as this sounds, I imagine that death is what both of these characters have truly earned. Although the endings are up for debate, I believe that both Randy and Nina have reached the apex of their crafts as well as their lives. For Randy the Ram, what else is he going to live for beyond those 12 cable ropes, 12 turnbuckles, and square canvas? A daughter who wants absolutely nothing to do with him? Well, there's Pam, but will she even be enough to replace his need to feel worthy? A need that only his fans can give him in his mind. In Nina's case, given what she endures throughout the film, the expression that it's never as good as the first time is appropriate. Will she ever, in her view, achieve that so-called perfection in the next show, or all subsequent ones in the future? Perhaps she'll become another Beth McIntyre, a self-destructive soul who may one day, if she lives, be confronted with the fact that no one stays at the top forever.
Black Swan and The Wrestler are two great films in Darren Aronofsky's catalog, functioning as captivating character studies as well as an absorbing glimpse into two opposite yet equally alluring forms of performance. And once again, thank you for watching. I'm Victor Omoayo, and you can find more video essay goodness on my V Knowledge channel.